And another perspective on the Israel-Hamas war. Next, we hear from G'rard Flitti, senior counsel at the Lawfare project. He'll offer us a deeper look at the Hamas terrorist group and where they get their funding. G'rard, while most Gaza citizens live in poverty, Hamas has an abundance of cash, with its leaders actually worth billions. So tell us, where is Hamas getting all this cash from?
This cash is coming largely from a few sources. One of them is Iran. Iran has been producing money and weapons and subsidizing Hamas and other terrorist organizations for decades. They're also getting money from their own people. They claim essentially what amounts to a tax on goods and services for allowing civilians to utilize the services that Hamas is providing. It's kind of like the mafia collecting protection money, but on a large scale. And also they're getting a lot of money and aid from the West, from Western taxpayers through the United Nations, from countries like the United States, Switzerland, European countries, some of whom have cut back. But this and illegal trade in arms and drugs has kept them quite wealthy.
And so what efforts have been made to try to cut them off from these flows of cash?
Most of these leaders, all of these leaders, in fact, are on terrorist sanctions lists, meaning that they can't transact business with Western countries, with Western banks. They're cut off from the normal banking system. The problem is that they have a lot of intermediary shell companies that they use, and they engage in purely illicit activities that are very difficult to track down and stop without the help of other countries. Now, it's important to recognize that while the United States, Canada, and the European Union see Hamas and designate it as a terrorist organization, there are plenty of countries in the world that don't, including China and Russia. So for as long as these countries continue to support Hamas and its leaders, it will be very difficult to crack down on the financing of their terror.
Right. So you've mentioned some illicit activities, support from China and Russia. What else makes this difficult to cut off the funding?
What makes it difficult to cut off funding is also that they're not necessarily using conventional transactions. They're using cash moved around in suitcases and in bundles, and they're also starting to be more sophisticated when it comes to the use of cryptocurrency. So it's easy enough to stop a transaction that's denominated in US dollars. It's easy to stop a bank from making a trade, but it's much more difficult when it comes to cryptocurrency and cash being moved in suitcases across borders.
In your view, what do you think that the U.S. and others who are trying to stop this source, all these sources of cash, flooding to Hamas, what can they do to more effectively tackle this?
Now, the two main things are getting more global buy-in in designating Hamas as a terrorist organization, in getting China, Russia, and other countries to stop trading with them, to stop financing them. But it's also important for the U.S. government and other friendly government to expand sanctions to secondary sanctions, to people, to individuals who are helping with money laundering. Even in the United States, we have people who are helping send money for, and I use quotes here, humanitarian causes related to Gaza and Hamas that are really fronts for Hamas. The U.S. government needs to investigate these and shut them down, because that still amounts to a lot of money being transferred to terrorism.
All right, G'rard Flitti, thank you so much for your time.